And we're back with round 2 of Grappling Dragons. Welcome to the Attic Dungeon. My name is Sam, and whether you want to wrestle a dragon or just kindly cuddle it, I'm here to help you with everything. As per usual, I'm here to thank you for watching my stuff. Don't hesitate to leave a comment, a like, something else useful. Just help me win eternal glory. Thank you very much. You might remember that I did a video about grappling a while ago. We're talking a good while ago, way before Tasha's Cauldron was released. And obviously, Tasha's gave us access to one very nice subclass that, if they want to, can surely specialize in becoming a bona fide grappler. We are of course talking about the Rune Knight subclass of the fighter class. So today we're going to have a quick look at what makes the Rune Knight such a good grappler and how we can support such a fighter in becoming an even better grappler. That's all there is to it for today. Very simple off, we start with race choice. In my previous video, I talked about Loxodons as a good grappling race because they have the trunk which they can use. Somebody pointed out that the Simic experiment race thingy actually gets 2 appendages that they can use to grapple. Good show, they can do that as well. But for today, we're going an entirely different road. We're not going the way of how many things I can grapple, but we want to grapple the largest thing possible again. So something Dragony Taraski, like, you know, wrestle with the big guys. And that is why our race is the Dwergar. And it's the new form of the Dwergar, not a legacy form. So we're using the Multiverse of Monsters book here. Which gives us a nice Dwergar that actually doesn't have a reduced movement speed. So dwarves don't have 25 movement speed anymore in the book. They just, well, at least the Dwergar, they got 30 just like any other race. Which is nice, they're a bit quicker, helps you to catch up to those big monsters to wrestle them. Now why the Dwergar? Very specifically, they get 2 spells that they can cast once a day. And one of those is Enlarge/Reduce. Rune Knight is going to give us another way of growing that will stack with Enlarge/Reduce. So we can go from medium to large with our subclass feature, and then from large to huge with our Dwarven Magic, and that will enable us to wrestle with a dragon. Simple as that. Downside here, whereas the subclass feature is a bonus action to grow from medium to large, Enlarge/Reduce, of course, always is an action that you need to use. So you need to take that into account. If you are going to fight something really big that you want to wrestle, try to pre-cast your Enlarge spell on yourself and the class action as well, because I'll explain that, but the subclass feature can only bring you up to the size of large. So you always first have to do the subclass feature and then Enlarge/Reduce. So if you want to wrestle a dragon efficiently, you need to spend some time pre-casting, otherwise it's just going to be the first turn of combat. No worries, can still be fun. Ability scores. We put our bonuses into Strength and Constitution because that's the only thing you really need. I pumped Charisma because I wanted to, but you can pump any skill really. It's a fighter. You only need 2 ability scores in general. So do with the third one what you please. I did put Strength at 15, so that would become 17 with the buff. Dex 8, Constitution 15 will become 16. 10 Intelligence, 8 Wisdom, 14 Charisma. That's the setup that I used, nothing too fancy there. Now, what do we need from our class? What are the essential features? Fighting style, of course. I opted for the dueling fighting style, which means that I'll be fighting with a one-handed weapon and keep my other hand open for grappling business. Now I can hear you say, Sam, why don't you just pick the unarmed fighting style rather? Your fists will become a D8 weapon, which is the same as your hammer, and you'll still have hands to grapple with. Yes, that's true, but I don't think it's and even the unarmed style actually allows you to deal 1 whole d4 of damage to a creature you grapple each turn. Wow. Obviously that damage is underwhelming, and it's a lot harder for an unarmed character to gain, as a fighter at least, to gain magical fists, so to speak. You have to find the insignia of the class, so your dungeon master has to actively plant that into his campaign. Whereas the dueling fighter, can pick up any magical weapon you come across, to a melee weapon obviously, to be capable of piercing the physical resistance that some creatures will have. So it's a lot more flexible, and to be honest, having a d4 on a grappled creature requires that you have a creature grappled, which will often be the case but might not always be, whereas the +2 from dueling is always there even if you haven't grappled something yet, and will apply to every attack that you do, whereas the grappling damage bonus is only once per turn. So dueling overall is just the better fighting style. The unarmed fighting style is a good idea, but it lacks something to make it oomph, you know. Other basic stuff at low level fighter is just generic fighter stuff that we don't need to talk about. The first thing that we do need to talk about is when we select our Rune Knight at level 3, because then we get to pick 2 runes already. One will be the Frost rune, because the passive is fun, but if you activate it for 10 minutes you get a +2 to all ability checks that use strength or constitution. Your athletic skill roll, of course, which you need to grapple a creature, is going to be affected by this +2 bonus, which is already good. It resets on a short rest, not bad either. That's the only rune really at the low level that will help us for grappling directly, but there is also the fun Cloud rune that I picked up that allows you to redirect an attack to another target within range, which is just plain fun. Giant Smite is the other part at level 3. That's the subclass feature I was talking about that allows you to grow. So it's very simple as a bonus action. If you're smaller than large, you become large. You get advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. Wow, I'm really messing up that one. So it's the +2 from the Frost, plus the fact that we have a decent strength score starting out at 17, plus advantage from Giant Smite is going to be pretty good in allowing us to grapple stuff. And once per turn, an attack that you deal gets an extra d6 worth of damage, which is fun, and you can use it in a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, which isn't too bad. It resets on short rest. So starting at level 3, you're already a pretty decent grappling machine, of course. Level 4, we are not going to be picking up a lot of ability score improvements here. We're going to boost strength to 20 entirely through the use of feats, and we'll start with a unpopular feat. It's not bad, it's just rarely picked because there's better stuff out there. Being the skill expert, you can bump strength up to 18 with it. You can gain proficiency in any skill that you want. Obviously you should already have athletics proficiency from the get-go as a fighter, and you can have expertise in a skill, which in our case will obviously be athletics. So now you have 18 strength, +2 if you activate the Frost rune on your athletics. You can have advantage by growing, and you have expertise. That is a huge bonus and a pretty surefire way to grapple anything that comes your way. Level 5 is extra attack, which allows more beaty punchy power. If you have something, might as well smack it. Don't forget that grapple replaces one of your attacks. So here, starting at level 5, you can actually grapple something and then still whack it afterwards with whatever magic weapon hopefully you're holding. So it's not just, wow, I get more attacks. No, you can actually grapple and attack now, which is one of the reasons the fighter is a really good grappler as well, because by the end of the road you have, well, if you're level 11, which is not that uncommon, you have 3 attacks per turn. You can easily grapple one thing and smack it twice, and you still have it in your hand. So I mean, that's good stuff. I have to think, I forgot when you get the extra rune. I think it's level 7, yeah, so I have to pass through level 6 first. Level 6 is another ability score improvement. It's going to be another feat. I thought of picking up just Tavern Brawler here. Again, pump up strength. You're proficient with improvised weapons, but also your unarmed attacks now always deal a d4 damage, which is very situational, but can be helpful if your grappling hand is unoccupied, or if you lose your weapon, you still have a pretty solid punching game to keep yourself going. More importantly, when you hit something with an unarmed strike or an improvised weapon, you can use a bonus action to grapple the target. So here what's actually possible is that your attacks now come from your fist. So you punch someone with your offhand. You use, if it hits, which shouldn't be too hard, you can use a bonus action to grapple the target. Don't forget we have an insanely high grapple chance. And once the target is grappled, use your extra attack to beat him with whatever weapon you're holding. So it's a pretty all-around package. And don't forget the Tavern Brawler feat is a better grappling feat than the grappler feat. Don't touch the grappler feat. But it's a bit niche because you need to hit him with an unarmed strike or an improvised weapon. But since you're pretty good with those, trying to punch something just to grab him is a decent way of doing things. Don't forget afterwards, you just smack him with your weapon. At level 7, you get Runic Shield, which is fun reroll shenanigans. But it only serves to reroll attack rolls, so you can't use it to enforce your grappling. Level 8, we pick up Crusher. Now you could also pick up Crusher at level 6 and Tavern Brawler at 8. That doesn't really matter all that much. There's other feats out there as well, but because you're punching quite regularly, and I would advise you to make your weapon something that deals bludgeoning damage as well, so like a Warhammer or something. I do like picking up the Crusher feat here, because again, it bumps your strength up by 1, which now is at 20 by level 8. That's all you'd ever want. If you hit something with bludgeoning damage, you can move them 5 feet, which is good. I mean, it gives you a little bit of crowd control, allows you to free up somebody who might want to move away. It's a recurring effect. It's a recurring crowd control effect that costs you no resources and will always activate when you punch or smack someone. And you might think, Sam, I don't want to move him 5 feet away. I want to move him closer to me. Yes, but this is so you can also fill another role on the battlefield. You're not just Captain Hug-a-Lot, you're also Captain Shove-a-Lot. And this is good because you should be flexible. And don't forget, when you critical hit something, all attack rolls until your next turn have advantage against the creature. All attack rolls, not just yours. So Crusher really is a feat that doesn't really bump your grappling game, except for the +1 strength to round up to 20, but it gives you some other utility, which is something you should always be looking for. Now, at level 8, we're looking at +11 on athletics. You can have +2 from the Frost Rune. You can have advantage from being a larger fellow. So you should be pretty okay with a +13 with advantage to grapple most things. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why the Rune Knight makes for an excellent grappler. You still have the high armor class of the fighter, the many attacks of the fighter, second wind. From now on, all the feats that you pick up can be I don't care what, because your build is completely finished by level 8, so even your higher level ability score increases can be anything you want. You could start multi-classing. It's really a nice, compact grappling build within one class that, thanks to the Dwergar magic, can go and wrestle with the largest creatures out there, or if you do pick Loxodon or the Simic Acolyte thing, you can grapple multiple creatures at once. It's all good. Enjoy the wrestling match, and if all goes well, I'll see you all again in 2 weeks in the Attic Dungeon.